Hey, this is Meredith Elliott Powell, and you know what time it is. It is 8 a.m. Eastern, and time for another episode of Sales Logic. This morning finds me in this unbelievably quaint town in Vermont, getting ready to keynote an event, hanging out here with my partner, Mark Hunter. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, and you're not at the Stratford Inn, are you?
I,
The
I
old
you know,
Bob
I
Newhart
could be.
show?
It is. I went out for a run, and that is using that term loosely this morning. The air up here is just amazing. What a beautiful, beautiful area of the country this is.
Well, that's great. Hey, we got a great show planned for this morning. And you know what? There's still time for people to sign up for May 24th in Sales Logic Live, right?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, we want to see you in Dallas, Texas, whether you can show up live and in person or join us virtually, because we're going to dive into what it takes to sell in today's marketplace. And if you caught last week's episode, Mark and I went head to head about inflation and how things are going to be impacted in the marketplace. And, bottom line is, things are shifting and things are changing. So if you haven't updated your sales strategy, if you're not looking at things just a little bit differently, then plan to join us on the 24th in Dallas, Texas. We're going to roll up our sleeves, get to work, and really build a sales strategy that puts you in a position to win no matter what the marketplace does.
Yeah. Hey, the topic we're talking about today is personal brand, the value it brings to the sales process. Got a great question, got a great book. So why don't we start the show?
All right, here we are once again, 8 a.m. Eastern, and time for another episode of Sales Logic. Mark, before we dive into today's topic, I'm just going to tell the audience how the show works. Good morning, Dave Sanderson. Welcome, and very excited we get to see you in Dallas, Texas. Every week, Mark and I come to you at 8 a.m. Eastern to talk about one of our favorite subjects, and that is sales. We cover a question from you, the audience. So if you ever want to be a part of Sales Logic, just send your questions to either Mark or me, or go to saleslogicpodcast.com. You can enter everything you need right there. We cover a hot topic, we discuss a book, and we leave you with a lightning round. It's actually now a download that you can go to our website, download it there, but it's designed so that you get return on investment. So, Mark, what is hot this morning?
Well, what is hot, and it's really good because it's one of the things we'll be talking about when we're together on Wednesday, and that's personal brand, the value it brings to the sales process. The question comes from us, from the financial services community. Our industry has been hit hard and is continuing to get hammered. The 4 bank failures, that dates us because in a couple of weeks it could be 5 or 6. And fear in the, did I just give you some
Yeah,
runway there? Yeah.
I think you're coming over to the dark side,
No,
Mark.
I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I just had to say that. And fear in the marketplace is casting a shadow and opening up the door for the competition. How can I help my commercial banking sales team hit their goals right now? I help them build their sales confidence, create trust, and go out and sell. Oh,
This
this applies not just to commercial banking, it applies to every industry.
Yeah, I would say though banking is particularly hit hard right now. I was speaking at a mega conference earlier this week, and I had about, I don't know, 600, 700 bankers in the room. And let me tell you, it's an industry that unfortunately is getting a black mark when they haven't done a single thing wrong. It's been a couple of in their industries. So I'm going to start with number one: is this is not the time to pull back. This is the time to lean in. I would sit down with my team and I would make a list of every single prospect that you've been working on, every single customer that you've been working on, and I would get out in the marketplace and talk to them. And probably, in my opinion, one of the greatest ways to create trust is to listen to people. I'd go out and I would just have conversations. I wouldn't worry about selling right now. I would build that foundation and position yourselves in the marketplace as listeners, because especially in financial services, as things start to get tight, A lot of other bankers are going to feel a lot of pressure. They're going to feel a lot of pressure to hit goals. And when you feel pressure to hit goals, you press customers and you press prospects too hard. The relationship feels more about you than it feels about them. And that is not a good way to start. So I would begin by making sure my team is more active than they had been in the marketplace.
And I'll tell you what that leads to is a term called commission breath. We've all heard this, we've seen this, and again, this impacts every industry. Because I'm seeing it in a number of other industries where various companies are starting to get into panic mode and they're really pushing their salespeople hard. And what this is doing is it's actually going to push customers away. Which for you, if you go out with that personal brand fully developed and go back to what Mayor said, listen. Just listen to the customer. And as you listen to the customer, be mindful of this. Be looking at their business. And I go down this path a lot, downstream and upstream. Who are their customers? Because what you want to be doing is you want to be looking for guidance as to how you can help them help their customers. You think about bringing value, that's how you're going to bring value to your customers. And that's how, in this period of economic times that we're in right now, this is the time to go out and grab market share. This is when market share becomes available, but it starts with you developing your personal brand.
Yeah, I would say, I would sit down with my team and I would really decide what you want to be known for as a team. How do you want to be recognized in the marketplace? Because the thing about brand is you have one whether you define it or not. And what you want to do is define it. So define it as a team and then define it for the individuals on the team. Write down 4 or 5 ways you would want customers to describe you. The way that I always work with it with my clients is I say, if I were going to turn around and I were going to introduce Mark Hunter to somebody else, what would be the 5 words Mark would want me to use to describe him to somebody else? And from there, we can talk about building your brand strategy. But I would say that it would be a really good time to sit down with your team, and with all the uncertainty happening, not only in the marketplace, but really in the financial services space, it's opportunity to be defined differently, but you need to articulate it.
And remember, when you define your image, whoever it is that you are, remember, it's not your definition. It's what the customers think your definition is. And this is absolutely key. So you've got to be having conversations with customers, because I find this so often the case, especially egocentric people. They have one view of themselves and their customers have a completely different view of themselves. You've got to be asking your customers, and you've got to be asking other people around you, because again, irrelevant what you think, it's all about what your customers think.
Well, and once you define your personal brand, once you define how you want to be seen in the marketplace, then you have to ask yourself, what are you doing to be seen that way? What are you doing to be seen as successful? What are you doing to be seen as trustworthy? What are you doing to be seen as somebody who is family oriented and relationship oriented? What are you doing to be seen as somebody who is healthy? What are you doing to be seen as somebody who is, dependable? I don't know. Whatever your personal brand is, what are you doing to be seen that way in the marketplace, to convey that message? Because what Mark said is so critical. I mean, I may think that I am seen as somebody who is dependable, I'm seen as somebody who is really successful. But if my customers don't see me that way, then I'm not doing the things that I need to do to convey that. The beautiful thing about brand is once you define it, you can then create a strategy to ensure you are positioned that way in the marketplace.
Yeah, and that brand, you've got to own your brand. I love Dwayne's comment here. When things get quiet or slow, this is the time to invest in more training and skill enhancing. So when things get stronger, your team is ready. You know what? I'm going to flip this around, Dwayne. Not only does it apply to you and your team, but to your customers. Think about this in the commercial banking world. Maybe this is the time to be going in and doing some lunch and learns. Maybe this is the time to be going in and helping them understand. You want to define your brand. Define it as being a person who really helps your customers. And when you do that, You do that by helping educate them. Take the time to do that. And when you do that, it's amazing at what you're going to find happening, because now customers are going to see you in two different lights. One, they're going to see you as putting them first, which is absolutely outstanding. So that's going to help your brand, your image, et cetera. But it's also going to educate them and make them smarter. And guess what? A smarter customer makes better decisions, which plays into your advantage. This is absolutely key.
Yeah, I love that Jared is saying that personal brand is one of the most important tools in your sales kit today. Mark, this is just where I was about to go with this podcast. So I'm so glad that Jared brought this up. Why? Why does personal brand matter?
What are you asking me?
Yes.
Yes. Well, hey, here's the deal. Because we live in such a media infused world. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody can see everybody. It is a very transparent world out there. And because it's so noisy, you have to ask yourself, how do I break through? How do I become the person who I need to be? So your personal brand, it is, because nobody does business with anybody without first Googling them. I always say your reputation arrives before you do. You better have a good reputation, because otherwise, guess what? You're not going anywhere.
Yeah, I think the personal brand really matters in today's marketplace because it's how people decide if you're a good fit for them. Not everybody wants to do business with me, and not everybody wants to do business with Mark. There are certain people. I feel like your personal brand is a way that you attract the right people to you. It's funny. I said that I meant this. So when I think about my personal brand, the ways that I really try to position myself in the marketplaces, one, I want to position myself as really cutting edge. I want to be somebody who is approachable, that anybody feels like they can reach out with me and engage with me. I want to position myself as healthy and balanced, in the sense that my personal life is as important. Somebody who is very cutting edge, who is innovative, and somebody who owns it, who is all about getting it done, will find a way to be successful. Well, approachable is probably, I've got to look at my brand every single morning and determine that I am going to be my brand. Some days I do not want to be approachable. In fact, some days it irritates the fire out of me that people come up to me and engage with me. Some days I am not full of energy. This morning, I just ran down to the buffet table to grab some breakfast before we got on here, because I've got a keynote right after this. And I have to go down there with a lot of energy, with, big smile on my face, saying good morning to everybody. Not because I feel like it, but because that is my brand, because I want people to feel that I'm lucky to be here. I feel good about being here. I want to be around Meredith. So I think one of the most important things to think about brand is that you don't always feel like your brand. That's why it's so important to articulate it. But if I want to come across a certain way, I have to make a decision to be that brand every day.
Our brand is on display every moment, just as you said. And it starts internally. I'm going to pop up Jared's other comment first. A personal brand helps bring in more of your ideal clients. It's a filter. It's why I say when you sell with integrity, you get customers who have integrity. It's amazing who people will be attracted to you who are like you. So it's absolutely fantastic. Now, here's something you have to keep in mind. And I see this so often. We have to be very careful as salespeople, because we want to put on this image when we're in front of customers. But you know what? That better be the same image we put on everywhere else. I always say, if you don't treat the barista with the same manner, the same respect that you treat your best customer, something's wrong. You and I have a phrase in the industry: you better be the same person off the stage as you are on the stage.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
it is amazing how your personal brand impacts. People make note of some of the smallest things that you would never imagine, but that's what they remember. That's what they dig in on.
Yeah, I love that Jared said, it's a great time saver here. It helps potential customers understand, do I want to work with you or not? Absolutely. I think personal brand probably matters now more than it has ever mattered in my career. When I was coming up in the banking industry, there was maybe one of six banks in our community. So not great odds, but pretty good. Now a banker's got to deal with a global banking environment. So it isn't the products or services that people are buying from you. I mean, they have so many different options. They're buying you. And when you put that brand out there, they go, "That's the person that I want to deal with. That's the person that I want to talk with." I want to throw John Register's comment. How fiercely do you protect your brand? I'm going to tell such a bad story on myself. You better protect this brand really, really strongly. I was speaking at an event about a month ago. It was one of these weeks I was going from one event to another event to another event. I had such tight flights. And I'd had to put my luggage in the check, and I'm running because I have exactly an hour to get to the airport, to get in, to get checked in, to get on my plane and everything. And I'm really stressed out. And when I get to the valet station, there's nobody there. There's no way to get my bag out of where I've put it. And I was pretty stressed out about it. Now, I wasn't rude or anything, but I was strong. I wasn't who I really wanted to be. And I turned around, and there was somebody who had just been standing in my audience. To say the least, that I was embarrassed was pretty good. So you got to protect that brand. You got to think about acting the way that you would act, whether somebody in your audience is standing there or isn't standing. Now
It,
we all screw up, but I was not happy with myself, and I'm never going to forget that.
Oh, that applies. You could be walking in to see a customer, and who is the security person at the front door? Who is all?
Yeah.
It is amazing how we make more impressions than we ever realize. And there's so many stories that we can tell. But I'll tell you what, I'm gonna do a little spin here. Leaders, your people take on your demeanor. Your people take on your style. I know over the years when I've had bosses that were absolutely fantastic, my personality changed. And I had bosses that were flat out jerks. My personality changed. So guess what? You as a leader need to make sure that you are the person you want your salespeople to be, people in your organization. Because again, it's what is it? Birds of a flock. I don't know what
Birds
that
of a feather fly together.
birds of a feather fly together. Thank you. But this whole thing, you have to be careful as to who you hang out with, who you associate with, because your personal brand, we can't put a dollar sum on it, but you know what? We can put a dollar sum on it, because the results you get, the customers you get, and the retention of your customers is absolutely huge based off of your personal brand. For those of you who sell life insurance, sell insurance, who are into that that B2C model, you understand this very well. But boy, it applies to B2B just as well.
Yeah, I want to combine John Register's comments here and another one that Dwayne said. John Register is commenting here about Ellen DeGeneres, and said when she is on, she needs to be herself plus one, because she has to play to the back row, be on brand, and play to the last row with who you are. I mean, exactly, kind of to Mark's point that it's it speaks volumes of you, how you are to everybody. And Dwayne says that we are in a stage of time that if your brand is not really who you are, it can't be sustained. So well said, Dwayne. You are going to be outed in nothing flat in today's marketplace.
How many times have we? I mean, you and I run into this. You said you had somebody who was standing behind you at the
Yeah.
valet desk in the hotel, but we see that in an airport where somebody will chew on somebody,
Oh,
and then wind up that they get on the plane and they're sitting next to each other.
yeah.
I mean that is just, you have to be mindful of who you are all the time. And I'll tell you what, when you are mindful and you put yourself at a personal brand of serving other people first, it is amazing how it changes your demeanor. It changes how well you listen. It changes because when you put the other person first, you hear so much more, and you are going to become that valuable partner to that customer, regardless. of who that customer is, and that's what's absolutely essential. Wow, time is moving along, but we got some great comments that continue to come in. I love John's comment here that he uses hashtag personal brand. We are on stage all the time, and think about this. Take a step back for a moment and think about some of the worst customer interactions that you've had. I'm thinking of some of those worst customers, and I'm wondering how my personal brand fell apart during that moment.
Mm,
Because again,
yeah,
we got to have that reservoir that when things go bad, we can still stay who we are. Because
yeah.
again, we've got to stay absolutely strong there. So, hey, should we pop over to the book, or what
Sure.
do you want to do now? Because we got a great book. I mean, I love this book and I love the author. So go ahead and introduce the book.
Well, you've got it right there. Why don't you
I
go ahead
got it,
and introduce
man.
it?
Okay.
Sorry, I'm in a hotel room, Mark,
That's
and I
okay.
can't see that far.
It's okay. Sell Yourself by Dr. Cindy McGovern. I tell you what, this is a great book. And what's very interesting is the person behind the book. This is what I want to give a shout out to, because she talks about how you sell yourself, how you personally present yourself. But what's very interesting is I've gotten to know her personally and professionally. She is the same way. She lives this book, and that's what makes this book so powerful. Sell Yourself by Dr. Cindy McGovern. How to create, live, and sell a powerful personal brand, because it does sell for you. Mark Bregman is jumping in right now with a comment. Company brand is also important. You're right, because you know what's very interesting? Stop and think about this. Many times, the customers you interact with, you are 100% of the reflection of the company you work for. So guess what? There's a company brand, but your personal brand actually supersedes the company brand, because you are who they interact with all the time. So the book, Sell Yourself, How to Create, Live, and Sell a Powerful Personal Brand. Absolutely fantastic book.
I want to comment here on Mark's comment, because it's so important that company brand's also important. No matter how strong your personal brand is, no matter how powerful it is, if your company has a bad brand, if they have done something to undermine that brand, you can't be independent from it. It's really, really difficult to do it. So working with a company, matching your brand to the company's brand is really important. I'll just give you a great example. I mean, back when I was in banking, my brand was, I wanted to be there for my customers, to be the one who really understood their business. And as we got bigger and bigger and bigger, all of our local authority went away, and we couldn't really make decisions based on the integrity of who we knew people were. If they didn't meet certain standards, we couldn't do it. It was a bad alignment. And I couldn't sell in the way of who I was and what was working for me anymore. Now, not that my company had a bad brand, they just had a brand that shifted, in a way that didn't work with me anymore. And one comment, I know we're going to get into the lightning round, but if you haven't revisited your personal brand in a while, I'm just going to give you a little exercise that I do on an annual basis, and that is I really sit down and I think about, who do I want to bring to the marketplace? What what position, what do I want people to say and think when they think about me? And I'll literally define that. And then I read it every morning, because, as I said, there are mornings I don't feel like I have a lot of energy, or I don't feel like being approachable, or, I'm not even in the mood to be cutting edge. And I have to make the decision to be that. So that is who I bring into the day. And that is the way I create, my brand. So I know we need to get into the lightning round, but I wanted to throw that out there.
There is so much we could talk about there, because how you start the day very much impacts your personal brand. One additional piece: if the company you're working for doesn't line up with your values and your standards, why are you working there?
Yeah.
Why are you working there? Get out of that, because all you're going to do is wind up compromising yourself. And it's an ugly, painful situation If you're one person and the company is something else, get out of it. Okay, with that, so I now have told everybody to go out and quit their jobs. No, a lightning round, top 10 ways to build an effective personal brand.
Number one, define it. Define what you want your personal brand to be.
2, live it. You have to be willing to live it 24/7.
3, literally create a strategy. Define how you are going to take this brand to market.
Be careful who you associate with because you become the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yeah, I would say number 4 or 5, I'm not sure where we are right now. Do a little brand audit. Look back and say, what have I done to get my brand out there, and talk to customers to determine if that is how people view you in the marketplace.
I was going to echo that because, again, it's not what you think it is. It's what your customers think it is. Be absolutely sensitive to what your customers are saying.
Yeah, make sure that your brand is relevant in the marketplace. I mean, as the marketplace shifts, your customers may be looking for different things from you. So make sure that you give a little lift to the brand now and then.
Google yourself incognito to find out what comes up first, what is being said about you, because that's what customers, prospects are looking at before they are willing to engage with you. Once you share one more, I'll share one more. We'll close it down.
Yeah. Figure out where you most powerfully need to promote your brand, where your customers are, where they're looking for information, and how your brand really alleviates their challenges and gives them peace of mind around the value of working with you.
We may think the brand is totally how you express yourself externally, but your brand begins internally. Because if you don't believe it and if you don't buy into it, you are not going to be a person who people are going to want to associate with. Hey, Mark Bregman, thank you for joining us here this morning. You're one of our VIP people on May
Yeah.
24th, so absolutely outstanding. And Bill King is going to be joining us, and yeah, we got a number of people
Dave
on
Sanderson, too.
watching. Dave Sanderson, who are going to be participating on the 24th. So hey, there's still time. Jump out and get registered. Go to Sales Logic Podcast, get registered either for in person or online. But we would love to have you with us. Anyway, with that, we want to say thank you for listening to Sales Logic this week. If you like what you hear, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast app. We love reviews. Hey, if something we've said has earned you a single dollar, hey, consider telling a friend, because it's how we grow when we help you grow. I'm Mark Hunter.
And I'm Meridith Elliott Powell.
Remember, when you sell with confidence and integrity,
all of this uncertainty suddenly becomes your competitive advantage.
And the sale becomes logical, especially on May 24th.
That's right. May 24th. Plan to join us in Dallas, Texas, live or virtually. We will see you there. And mark your calendar for 8 a.m. Eastern. We'll see you next week right here for another episode of Sales Logic. Now, go out, close a deal.